Warrior Auburn fans, welcome to No Huddle, your source for Auburn football news and discussion, part of the E2C network. I'm AJ Richardson, and I'm also here with Jared Davis. We're going to be previewing the Mississippi State game. The Bulldogs, they're coming to Jordan-Hare. It's a 11 a.m. kickoff in Jordan-Hare. I think Auburn's, at least fan-wise, a little deflated. I think if the team comes back and like they've done before after a loss, kind of just, we're going to get refocused and, focus on the 1-0 mindset. I think we can come back out and kind of show what we're made of. Jared, how are you doing? And any thoughts about this Mississippi State game, just kind of overall?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I mean, I'm a little scared, honestly, about the game. 11 a.m. games are not usually Auburn's strength.
Yeah.
If we're being honest, it probably won't be a packed house. People are still deflated about the other 11 a.m. game atmosphere. Essentially, the players are going to have to possibly manifest their own energy, especially in the beginning. If they start doing well, the fans will catch on.
Yeah.
But it's not a great scenario, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, you go from a very tough loss that, I mean, fans are feeling it, players are feeling it, to you have to play a Mississippi State team, which you should beat in most scenarios, and you're playing them at home at 11 a.m. This is kind of why, you're looking at at least to start the week, Vegas is already only favoring Auburn by about 5.5 points. So, it's a little bit of home field advantage there. Plus, Auburn, talent-wise, I think is way better than Mississippi State. But, that's kind of showing you that this could be, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a trap game, but it could be if Auburn doesn't come out and figure out some things on offense.
Vegas must know that we hadn't scored a touchdown in 6 quarters if it's only 5.5.
Yeah, they're probably looking at that.
I will say Auburn basketball opens Friday night, so that might make the crowd a little bigger than it may have been because people are going to possibly come down for that and just stay around for the early kick game. So that could help a little bit, honestly.
Yeah,
I don't know. But irregardless of what happened last week, any 11 a.m. game, the fans just aren't always usually into it.
Yeah, it's just hard to get everybody kind of motivated, excited. We've had some noon games where I have seen the fans get into it, but it's not anything like an evening game. There's nothing like it. But hey, that's where I think the players and the coaches just need to strap in and get ready for this noon kickoff and play well. You have to, coming out of a loss, this is a key. This is a bounce back game. This is one I think Brian Harsin is going to say, guys, there's so many other teams that could knock us out, and Mississippi State's one of them. Don't overlook them. And if you keep that mindset of focusing on them, not looking forward to in a few weeks we're playing Bama, you have a much better chance.
Well, and you need to focus one game at a time, so you got to be careful with this. But we play at 11, and if we go out there and win, and I know this is crazy talk, but if we win, Ole Miss and A&M play at 3:30. If Ole Miss beats A&M, then South Carolina is the only thing stopping the Iron Bowl from being winner take all for the West. So
that is crazy.
We're not out of this yet. You got to focus on Mississippi State. But if we win, you get to go home and watch Ole Miss play A&M. If Ole Miss wins that ball game, essentially you got to go beat South Carolina. And then you're playing for the West. And I know that we all want to be better than, you won't make the playoff. Well, who cares? If Arson was somehow able to win the West Division in his first year, then that would be amazing.
Well, even I'd say competing for the West, I feel like that in and of itself.
Having the Iron Bowl be the deciding factor, nobody predicted that to start the season.
Definitely not. You have for the longest time, and even still, Gus Malzahn has been really the only real consistent coach able to beat Saban. And we bring in Brian Harsin. If he can somehow beat Bama, wow. Not only did he beat LSU, but he's kind of switched the narrative on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I like that.
I,
I mean, I know we took a big leap of faith on Harsin for this season. And coming in, I mean, he came from a place that's not even the Southeast. It's the opposite side of the country. And come into a place like the SEC West. I mean, it kind of shows you how tough things are, but yet Harsin has kind of rose up to that challenge.
I guess the big takeaway is fans are going to be fans. Fans are upset about the A&M game. Players are too. But Harsin in practice all week can be telling guys, listen, y'all literally still have everything to play for. So you should not be down as a football team. You want to win anyways, but you literally, I mean, not only Ole Miss, if LSU were to knock A&M off, they still got 2 tough games. So you got to go take care of business without a doubt. But there's something to play for.
Yeah, there's always things to play for. But when you definitely get that third loss, it feels like there's less to play for because you're like, yeah, we're not going to the playoffs. But in my eyes, you still have, I mean, this is your, I mean, I don't want to use, I mean, I probably will use the word rebuilding, but it kind of feels like it's not a complete rebuild. But think about it. Like anytime there's a new coaching staff, I mean, I think, barring, the kind of exclude the 2013 season where Gus comes in as head coach. I think most times, at least at Auburn, your first year is kind of, oh, let's see what we've got here and, develop that talent, recruit some extra guys, and you don't really start seeing the fruits of it till, year 2, 3, 4. And it's actually pretty impressive to me that we're able to compete like this in Brian Harsin's first year with none of the guys except for transfers that essentially Harsin had. So I feel like that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think the main thing, if you win these next 2 games, there's no chance of the season getting sideways on you. And a lot of people predicted it was going to get sideways. So
right. I mean, there are people preseason thinking we'd be like 6-6 or maybe even 5-7.
Yeah, there's people predicted we'd be the last some people said we might be just ahead of Arkansas. Some people said we would be last in the West. And, let's be honest. I mean, we still got 2 more games we got to take care of, but
right.
They look pretty promising right now. So you go take care of your business. And even if you do lose to Alabama, you beat almost everybody's expectation.
Yeah. Yeah. I did want to kind of preview a little bit about Mississippi State. Their defense is pretty good, which hearing that as an Auburn fan isn't the best news. They're on average allowing 322 yards of offense per game, but on the flip side, they are allowing about 25 points a game. So you kind of got the flip side of that where they're not giving up a ton of yardage, but they're giving up points. So I still think Auburn has put a few really good drives together, score some touchdowns, and we can come out with this win. The Mississippi State air raid offense, I mean, we're very aware of it's going to be 90-95% passing, but Mississippi State will run the ball when they think it's opportunistic, and they'll do it. I mean, one of their running backs almost has 300 yards. He's already got 4 touchdowns this season. Not any means like great numbers, but they can run the ball if they need to. And I think the good thing in my mind is Auburn, at least after, probably the second half of the season, we've more or less kind of kept things mostly in front of us in the secondary. Is that, would you say that's kind of accurate to say, like, as far as our secondary is going?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we've kind of kept things in front. I defensively for us, I haven't had any issues. I mean, I think that, the scary thing, really with Mississippi State, you just got to tackle well. They're going to get their completions.
Yeah, they're going to get, those 5-10 yard routes.
Yeah. You just got to keep them at 5 or 10 yards.
Right.
Yeah, you keep those at 5 or 10 yard routes. Quarterbacks are going to miss. Receivers are going to drop. You're going to get pressure occasionally. You're going to get some 3 and out. So you just got to avoid giving up the big plays. And really, even when we do give up a big play, we usually catch them, stop them, and keep them out of the end zone. So that's the key. I think keeping them out of the end zone. Mississippi State, I've only seen a few of their games. I'm probably going to eat these words come next Sunday, but they're not real good in the red zone. I've seen them get to the red zone several times, and they either implode with turnovers or just forget how to play football. So I don't know their stats on that, but the games I've seen, they did not look good in the red zone.
Hey, and Auburn's defense is usually great in the red zone. I mean, they've kind of shown that last couple games. If you get in the red zone, they can stop you to just a field goal, which, you know, for most defenses, that's a great sign. So, all right, let's talk about our players to watch for this Mississippi State game. Who on offense are you going to be watching, Jared?
Oh man,
Can you say the whole offense?
Yeah,
I feel like we should.
Who are you on offense? Yes, I just want to see offense. Yes.
Yes.
I think that probably it's an easy target. I think I'm going to see how Bo rebounds. And again, last week was not all on Bo, but there was some frustration there, and it carried over into probably some of his throws. So let's see how he rebounds. He's had a greater sample size this year of being good than he has bad. He was not great last week. Can he get back in the plus column on that? I expect him to, honestly.
Yeah. I think primarily Bo Nix for me as well.
Can we do the same person? Oh, okay. You're going to pick.
I'm going to say, I mean, as much as I want to watch Bo Nix, because I feel like, again, he's kind of the easy, see how Bo Nix is doing. If Bo Nix does well, then our team's going to do well. But I'll also say I'm really interested to see what our wide receivers do this game, because the last game, they were not great. We had a couple great, decent tight end plays, but for the most part, our wide receivers slacked off and weren't playing up to what they were supposed to. So, I mean, I'm calling out Kobe Hudson and Shedrick Jackson. I mean, I think both of those two guys, and even Demetrius Robertson, I think he only had one catch last week. Our top guys that we usually go to only had 3 catches total. That can't happen. We need more action out of all 3 of them. So, it's kind of like a combo of those 3 starters on our wide receiver group. All right, on defense, who are you going to be watching for Auburn?
Probably the linebacker. Well, maybe not. I was going to say linebacker because Harsin mentioned after the last week game we had a couple of run misfits. They don't really run the ball much. I might be watching Tennyson. I think you mentioned him in the last podcast, and he played really well. So he was around the ball a lot. Gonna be a different style of offense here, but keep an eye on him. See if he's able to build off that momentum off that good game against A&M.
Yeah, and just because it's going to be a run, or they're not going to be running as much, I think Tennyson is going to have to develop a lot in this past game. So yeah, that's a good one. And my guy's going to be Smoke Monday for kind of similar reasons. I mean, I think Smoke has had, he's had his big plays. But I think one of the things he needs to still develop on is being a tight pass coverage. And he's going to have to do that a lot against Mississippi State. And yeah, if Smoke Monday is able to, play well in the secondary, I mean, that's one less receiver that Mississippi State has an option of going to. So that's the guy I'll be watching. Let's talk about special teams here. Who are you going to be watching on Auburn special teams for this Mississippi State game?
Never thought I'd say his name. I'd forgotten about him. I just counted on him. I'm going to be watching Carlson. I mean, we need to, make the points when we can. I mean, the way we've struggled to get in the end zone or score touchdowns. This could be a one-off of a couple of field goals. So I expect him to have an impact on this game one way or the other, and hopefully it's the positive side.
Yeah, yep. That's exactly what I'm thinking. I mean, I hope it's not a field goal type game, but, we discussed it earlier. I think Anders has just been a little bit off this year, and it's unfortunate because I think he's better than, the product that he's putting out on the field. But I think just for, to be a little different, I've been watching Demetrius Robertson, and I still want to see him get some bigger run backs on particularly punts because he has that top end speed. So I'll be watching him. I expect Mississippi State to be punting a good bit this game. So Demetrius Robertson. All right, let's talk about our score predictions for this Mississippi State game. It's preseason. You and I had both predicted that Auburn would win, and I predicted us win by 10. You predicted us win by 14. How are you feeling about that now? Are you going to change that? I mean,
can they go negative points? I don't know if we're going to score 14, so I might need. Yeah, I'm probably going to change it. I mean, I'm going to drop mine down to 10. I wish I didn't have to, but I got to see more from our offense. So I still think we win. I think our defense will do enough. But yeah, let's put it at 10.
Yeah. I'm dropping mine down a little bit too, from 10 points to 7 points. I just think, like you said, our offense has to get back to what they were doing. And if they don't, I mean, this could be a loss, and I don't want it to happen. I mean, this could be a bad loss. But hey, Mississippi State, they've shown that they can do it. I mean, they've put up some good matches. I mean, even they beat Texas A&M earlier in the season. So, I mean, they can do it. They can put up points, and they can score and beat teams. So, all right. Let's talk about our last segment here, an Auburn fan perspective of the SEC. There were some pretty interesting ones this week, particularly around, I'll save this one, but Bama. I'm just going to mention that one, and we'll hit on that one a little bit later. So the team we're playing, Mississippi State, they lost this last week to Arkansas, 31-28. That's a pretty close one. But Arkansas was at home. I feel like Arkansas at home has been pretty good this year. Yeah, I mean, I think both those teams, they're definitely not the top of the SEC by any means. If anything, they're kind of towards the middle to lower tiers of the SEC. But both of them match up pretty well against each other. Tennessee beat number 18 Kentucky. And this was a very high-scoring game. Another high-scoring game for Tennessee. Tennessee won 45-42. I will make note of this. Is this Kentucky's? Is this like their third loss? Is that right?
I believe it is. Third loss in a row. Yeah, they lost to Georgia, and then they lost the week after to somebody, and then they just lost to Tennessee. So I think it is 3 in a row.
Yeah, they lost Georgia, Mississippi State, and now Tennessee. So it's a rough little patch for them. When at one point they got all the way up to number 11, and they've kind of fallen down since then. And now they're 6-3. But I mean, I had a feeling Kentucky, they started out so hot this season that it was gonna at some point start trailing off a little bit, and this is kind of that trailing off.
Yeah, I always felt kind of like a fake number 11. I mean, they struggled. I mean, they barely beat South Carolina. They got tremendously outgained by Florida, but they ran a field goal back. So it was like things were having to happen that just don't happen every game, and good for them. Yeah. I mean, they were making them happen, but you don't get that every game. So if you don't get that, you're seeing what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. And especially when you're at SEC, you can't rely on those special plays all the time. You have to consistently play well. So here's one. I know we've been talking about Dan Mullen a lot, but guess what? Dan Mullen lost again at Florida. I mean, we've kind of hit on it before with Dan Mullen. His seat is getting warmer and warmer. I feel like this has to be the hottest it's gotten. And I mean, is this kind of is this the sign of the downfall of Dan Mullen at Florida?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of almost Chizik-esque because, and I don't think it was Chizik's fault, but for whatever reason, our 2012 team started looking like they quit. And you hate to say that, but just the beatdowns, you're like, oh my goodness. I think Florida's quit on him. I mean, to go lose this bad to South Carolina, I'm not saying South Carolina may not beat Auburn, but this bad? Yeah, that
I mean, they're 4-5.
Well,
Florida is 4-5.
Well, not only that, have lost 8 of their last 10 games against Power 5 conference.
My Gosh.
8
And
of
this
their
was
last.
their third straight loss.
Yeah, so, I went from joking that he may lose his job but not really thinking it to now I would be surprised if he does not lose his job. I would be more surprised if at the end of the year they don't fire him than I would be if they did.
Wow. Yeah, I think the odds are ever increasing that he gets fired by at the end of this year.
And it's not going to be so much as his record, or it's going to be that when you get beat that bad and you're Florida, your team quit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what happened. And so, like, when you lose the team, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't think he survives it. I'm being honest.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this before, but coacheshotseat.com, one of my favorite sites of
sir.
college football coaches. Where do you think Dan Mullen is on this list now?
I'm going to guess number 1.
He's number 2.
Who's
number 1 is Scott Frost at Nebraska.
Oh, well, I forget about him. I think Nebraska's just become so used to mediocre now. It's like, okay. Yeah. Frost should be out of there too.
Yeah.
But and to be honest with you, I don't like Dan Mullen, so I'm not going to shed a tear. But I did think he gave hope in beating Georgia, year in and year out because he is innovative on the offensive side. Apparently, he does not like to recruit and he just doesn't grasp things. I think he's not very self-aware. I don't think he realizes what's going on right now.
Yeah, which is odd. You have 5 losses in your season. Like, why haven't you figured things out? You're Florida.
Well, like they lost to Kentucky, and they were, asking him about it. And he said, well, we outgained them, and he rattled off offensive stats. And they're like, dude, you're not the offensive coordinator. You're the coach. Like, y'all lost.
Yeah.
Like, he's not self-aware.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good way to, if you're the head coach, you're the CEO of the team. You're not just an offensive coordinator. So, yeah. I also wanted to mention, just very briefly, Ole Miss beat Liberty 27-14. So, yeah, they pretty much expected that. Liberty. Stop. I heard that enough during the game. And then Georgia beat Missouri 43-6. I didn't think Missouri had a chance, and they did not have a chance. All right, I've been kind of I hinted at it at the very beginning of this segment, but Alabama almost lost to LSU in Tuscaloosa. The score was 20-14, and LSU had a chance at the end. They had a Hail Mary that landed in the end zone, could have been caught. How crazy would that have been if LSU had beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa? I mean, do you think Ed O, if that had happened, Ed O, they would have ripped up his contract and said, "We're keeping you another year."
I've seen people talking about this interim coach for LSU is not bad. They should give him a look for the main job.
Oh, yeah,
man. I think the reality is, and we've thought it. There are. I probably will have to eat these words. I'm not even sure how elite Georgia is. They haven't played anybody great. I mean, and that's playing Auburn. Georgia right now is the only one you can say. There's not great teams this year. And I don't care how many 5-stars Alabama has on their team. They're not a great team right now.
Yeah.
They are a good team, but they're not great. They're not what we're used to from Alabama. And so there's opportunities for them to lose games. Would not be surprised if the Iron Bowl went in our favor. I'm not going to pick it, but I wouldn't be surprised of it. So
I might pick it. I'm not afraid.
Well, depending on how the next 2 weeks go for us, if we get our offense figured out, I probably will pick us because Alabama does not scare anybody this year, and it's just who they are. They are super talented, but LSU's super talented.
Yeah.
But they're just not playing like a super talented team right now.
Yeah. I mean, you were talking about Bama's not that great of a team. I mean, I think of Bama's teams, even when they had Tua Tagovailoa on their team, they were still running the ball pretty consistently. They weren't doing it as much as they had to because Tua was so great and they had such great wide receivers, but they were running the ball more than 6 yards, and 6 yards was all Alabama got against LSU.
Their running back averaged 1.5 yards.
My gosh.
I mean, this is against LSU Auburn went to LSU, and I know they had some crazy plays from Bo, but, Yeah, that was at Baton Rouge. I mean, it's just crazy. It's just when you don't have great teams, there's gonna be fluky, inconsistent things, and there's not a lot of great teams. And I think Alabama probably is legitimately the number 2 team right now, and that just tells you how bad or inconsistent other people are.
Right.
So,
I mean, but even if you think back to the Auburn versus LSU game, you exclude all of Bo Nix's crazy runs and stuff, and Jarquez and Tank Bigsby almost had 100 yards between them. And Bama's only able to get 6 on LSU. That just seems wrong. And if I remember right,
at night.
Yeah, if I remember right, I think Alabama, one of their linemen, maybe their center, went down, injured, and that obviously does hurt. But like, you get the next man up. Like, I don't understand. 6 yards is not a lot. I mean, that's in my books negative yardage in the run game. But I mean, that's kind of pointing to Alabama has some O-line issues, just like Auburn does. They weren't giving Bryce Young protection. They weren't opening up holes for running backs, and they got some issues on offensive line as well. And they got to figure that out if they want to keep going and win a national championship. All right, Jared, any other thoughts before we get out of here?
Just hope we are able to figure out. If we figure out our offense, we're going to be okay and probably have a comfortable victory this coming Saturday. But if we don't figure that out, it's going to be a nail biter to the end, and we're going to have to rely on defense and kicking game, and hopefully that defense will be there. Hopefully the kicking game will.
Yeah, and one thing I think, I mean, we used to, I think early in this season, the special teams made a special play. Good special play, not just a bad one, like a good one, blocked the punt, did something. And we haven't seen that in a little bit. So I'm almost looking at this Mississippi State game as special teams. This is your time to shine and make some special plays out there. And maybe that gets our offense going because right now offense needs something like that. I mean, defense is doing its job, but offense, we're struggling. And
we need a big play. We need a big play to get us out of this funk. You get that going, it's contagious, and we can take off. We can win this one on defense, but I would rather not. I'd rather put up some points and make it a little more comfortable.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Jared, before we get out of here, how can people stay in touch with you?
You can find me on Facebook under my name, Jared Davis.
And you can find me on Twitter at AJAY_. It's always great to be an Auburn Tiger and War Eagle.
War Eagle.